Molly.
Okay, so for today's project, we are going to need a few things. First thing you'll need is a crochet hook. I am using a 4.5 millimeter hook, as you can see here, and I'm also using 6 granny squares that I made from a leftover project. You can make any type of granny square you want, any color you want. You can have a border, you cannot have a border, it's all up to you. But these are from a leftover project because I miscalculated the amount of squares I needed. So I got one leftover from each color, and then you'll need some extra yarn. So this is some yarn I'm reusing from also a different project that I ended up not liking so much. So I unmade it, and this is the ball of yarn that I got from it. So the first thing you want to do is first arrange how you want your colors to go. How I came up with this idea is that I started arranging these granny squares in different orders or in different color combinations until I found one that I liked, and then I decided what I was going to do with it, and I thought it looked like a heart. So then I decided to make a heart-shaped bag. So we're going to need 3 for one side and then 3 for the other side. So right now I'm going to show you how to join these 3 granny squares the same way I joined these 3 over here. You can see that I used a slip stitch going from here to here down to here. So can you see over here how it forms a little braid like joining? I really like that effect, so that's what I'm going to be doing for these ones as well. To do this, first I need to know which orientation I want my squares to be in, and I know I want them to be like this. First of all, I'm going to ditch this one, and we're going to work on these 2. I'm going to take some of my yarn, and we're going to make a slip knot. So the way I usually make a slip knot is with the hook. I put the shorter side of the yarn on top of the longer one, and I chain 1, and then I pull it tightly, and you see it makes a little knot right there. And I pull it to the size of the hook. Now we're going to carefully remove this from our hook, put it aside, and now we're going to work with the squares. With the top square, here we see that there are 2 chains at the side here. So it's 1, 2. We want to find the first chain and put our hook into only one side of the stitch. We aren't going to take both of them. We're only going to take half. And then you're going to do the same thing with the one in the bottom, like so. So now that we have the 2 on here, we're going to go back to this slip stitch, slip it back on, and now we're going to pull it through both of the loops, being careful not to pull too much so the whole yarn doesn't slip through. So we're going to start off by slipping 1 just so we secure everything, and then we're going to continue into the second stitch. So we're going to go top, and then we're going to go bottom, and then pull through, and you're going to pull through that last one as well. Then we're going to repeat that: top, bottom, yarn over, slip through the first one, slip through the second one, slip through the third one. You can see that the little V's are starting to form, and we're going to do this until the end of the row. So this can be a little bit tricky because you might need to wiggle the yarn around to get through all of the loops. But fear not, you don't need to do this quickly. It can be something that's done slowly Alright, we're reaching the last two. So I'm going to put a slip stitch through here, but now I need to find the second one here. Put a slip stitch through that, a slip stitch through here. Oh no, I need to put a slip stitch through it. Now it's time to join in the third square. On the third square, we're going to join this the chain one here to the chain one here. So we're just going to continue this. Because I was doing top first, I'm going to continue with top first. You don't necessarily need to do top first and then bottom. You can switch it up because it doesn't really matter. It will look the same. I will show you in a second. So we're just going to continue this until we reach the end of this row. Now over here you can see that I have a cast off from this granny square. So what we need to do here is we just continue working like you would normally. But then when you're done with this slip stitch, you will notice that there is an additional space where you can crochet here. You'll have to skip this space and go to the next one directly. So to make the next slip stitch, I will not put it in here, I will put it into the next one. Now, if you get lost, just remember, match up the double crochets, yeah? So if you're on the second double crochet, make sure that you're inserting your hook in the bottom one to the second double crochet. If you're on the third double crochet of the group, make sure that you're inserting your hook into the third double crochet of the group. Now we're reaching the last one again, and here we're just simply going to make our last slip stitch like so, and then we're going to pull this one through, pull it tight, and then just cut it off. So now that we have our two sides, it's time to make the part of the bag that will make your bag become a bag. So it will elevate this slightly like this. So we're going to make a strip about 1 inch or 2 to 3 centimeters wide. Of course you can make it as wide as you like, it's your bag, so there's no need to be too precise about it because this is supposed to be a super simple project. To do this, we will need to cast on some new yarn. To do this, we'll do another slip knot the same way we did our last one. Put the small part of the yarn in front of the big one, and then do a slip stitch and pull tight, and then pull it to the sides of the hook. What we're going to do is chain 1, yarn over, chain 2, yarn over, chain 3, yarn over, chain 4, yarn over, chain 5. So I want to make mine more or less this wide. It's about this much, and it is going to increase as I crochet it, so I'm not too worried about the size right now. And now to make our first crochet, we're going to chain 1, 2, because these are going to be half double crochets. Now to do half double crochets, you're going to yarn over the needle, slip your yarn into that 5th single crochet you did, yarn over again, pull through that 1 yarn over again, and then pull through everything. So here you have your first half double crochet. I'm going to show you one more time. So we're going to yarn over, then we're going to put it through the next loop, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through, yarn over again, and then pull through all 3 loops. Can you see that? So it's forming a short little row, and we're going to continue that until the end. Alright, I'm at the end of my row, and I can see here that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double crochets, and I normally don't count this last one. So now we're going to go up 2 chains, flip your work over, and then start doing half double crochets, but for the second row, instead of going into only one of the little legs, you're going to go through both of them. And then just continue this until it is a length that can wrap around from here, down here, up to here. So I'll meet you when mine is about that length, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next. So right now I'm back, and what I've got going is this really long strip. So we started here with the chain of 5 plus a chain 2, and then we made 5 half double crochets, and we continued all the way up. We stop making this right when it wraps around this piece, and it's okay if you have a bit much, because we're not going to bind it off. Don't bind it off, and you can see this is going to be kind of like the depth of your bag. So this is not the depth, the width of your bag. So we're not going to bind off here because we made some extra rows just to make sure we have enough rows to go around, because sometimes your work shrinks or it stretches, and it depends how you match up the rows to crochet together. So we're going to secure this so it doesn't slip off. I have some little pins here. I don't quite know what you call them, but they're really helpful for me when I crochet or when I knit. So I'm going to just do this, and then we can pull this tight, and you can see that that stitch is not going anywhere. You can pull it however you want, and it's not going to unmake itself. And when you want to get back to your work, you just pull this lightly and you continue. We're going to match it up with this. Again, the corner, remember how we talked about there a chain 2 here in this corner, so we're going to line this up with the first chain 2, and then we're going to take a separate ball of yarn or a separate strand of yarn, and we're going to do the same thing as before. We're going to make a slip knot, and again we're going to remove said slip knot and keep it safely aside. Now here, I find it prettier when bags have a little edge that comes out slightly. So what we're going to do to join these is make a single crochet. So instead of a slip stitch, how we did here, we're going to make single crochets all around, and then we're going to repeat it for the other side. I'm going to show you how to make this real quick, and then we're just going to continue all around. The way I'm going to do this is find the first row, pass my hook through it, and then pass my hook through the first chain here. And now I'm going to join my little slip knot, and then we're going to pull that slip knot through. And now to start off, we're going to make a slip stitch just to secure it so it doesn't go anywhere. And then in the same space that you just did that, just to start you off, we're going to make a single crochet. Now it's a little bit tight, but that's all right. And you can see how that made an elevated stitch compared to the flat slip stitch. Now we're going to continue this by going on to the second row. You don't have to slip through a whole stitch, you can just slip through a little leg of the stitch, and then we're going to go on to the second space, and then we're going to do a single crochet. And now we're going to go on to the third row. Go one leg and then into this third space. So you can see this is slightly elevated. We're going to just continue this all the way around, and then I'm going to show you what to do when we reach the end. Just make sure to match one row to one space, one row to one space, and do this all around. Alright, I'll meet you at the end. So we meet again. You can see I've attached the whole band to one side. I still need to weave in my ends. I haven't done that yet. I'm leaving it to the end. And I need to just hide some little pieces of yarn. Now you can see that I finished off here and it's slightly elevated. Let me see if I can show you. I like the way it makes the border of the little squares look. I think it gives it a more finished look. Now remember how I said we can make this slightly higher? Well, we're going to just take another one of these little pins and we're going to fasten it onto the yarn that runs around this edge. Let's just fasten it here, and then we're going to pull it tight just to secure it. Alright, and then we'll keep that yarn separate from this yarn. But now this is too long. We'll want to take it down to the same level of the edge of the granny square. So now we're going to do that. Don't worry about the step, it's just easier to do so. Now just about one more row. And now that's where I'm going to leave this off. What we want to do now, because this one ended up on this side, we're going to attach, we're going to attach this side like so, in the same fashion that we attached this side. Here, all you have to be careful with is to make sure that all of the stitches fit properly around the band. So right now our little purse is coming together. You can see that it has the bottom right now and everything is stitched together, and you can see how the little border here just adds a little bit of personality and it just looks so cute. I love how this looks. One thing is missing. The handle? I'm gonna call it the handle. So that is missing right now. Now you might ask yourself, how are we gonna do this? Are we going to make it from here to here? Well, if we do that, can you see, like when I plop it up, this will fold to the side. So we are going to have to make it from here to here. So we're going to make 1 and 2. But how we're going to make this is we're going to start from here. Remember how we pulled out a little bit of the side piece because it was way too long? Well, now we're going to keep using that yarn. So what we're going to do here is we're going to split this in half. We had 5 half double crochets. We're going to split those 5 half double crochets into a group of 3 and a group of 2. Now this group of 2 is going to end up also being a group of 3 because it's going to start out with a chain 2. And this is also going to be a group of 3 because it's also going to start out with a chain 2. So now they're going to be separate, and then we're just going to make them the size that we want, and then it's going to attach all the way to the other side. Now I'm going to show you how to continue making the handle of the bag. We're going to take out the little clip, set it aside, and then we're going to continue with the half double crochets. Now I already have a chain 1, so I'm just going to chain 1 more, flip the work over, half double crochet into the first one. So that's 1 half double crochet, half double crochet into the second one. Now that's forming a smaller band. So right now we're going to chain 1, chain 2, flip it over, and then 1 half double crochet, and then into the last one, one more half double crochet. We are going to continue this all the way around here, and then you're going to use your arm itself to measure how big you want this section that comes up to here to be, because we are going to put this together with this side. This is going to go together just like we put this part of the band together with this side. And then I'll meet you when I am back around here more or less, and I'll show you how to come around this side. I'm finishing off my last row. One thing that I forgot to tell you is to count the number of rows you do, the number of rows you make, because you'll have to make the same amount for the other side. So for this one I made a total of 49, and now I'm going towards my 50th. So this is my 50th row. Oops, made that wrong. I'm just gonna put 1 half double crochet into each space right now, and then we are going to be joining this side. So now the first thing you want to make sure of is that this is not twisted, or else it will end up twisted in the final version. And then you'll just bring it over to the second side, and now you see how it lines up well with this one. So here what we're going to want to do is to join this with a few slip stitches. You need exactly 3 because we have a total of 1, 2, 3 half double crochets. Right now I am including the I forgot the word. Now I'm including the chain 2. Go into the first space, and then we are just going to we're just going to do a slip stitch just to secure one piece to the other. Alright, so now that I've secured one piece to the other, I'm going to go into the first space here, and then into the second space here, and then another slip stitch. Make sure not to make them too tight, because that can also affect the look of the bag. Now into the third one up top. Oops. This yarn that I have is a little bit tricky to work with. If you have a cotton yarn, it will possibly be easier. Then into the third space. And then now, without hooking anything here, you're going to go into the third space again and do another slip stitch. So you can see that here you can see the join, but that's not really a problem because it blends in. And here you see it's a good size for me, I find, because this is going to be attached here, so I'm not going to have all of the space to put my arm through. I'm only going to have this space to put my arm through, and I think it's a good space for me. Now, to continue with the next side, you know how we just did one slip stitch? Now we're going to do a chain 2. Now after this chain 2, into the next space, we are going to do a half double crochet, and then into the next space, which is the last space, we're going to do another half double crochet. I made it a little bit tight. Okay, cool. So now we started this off, and we're just going to keep going. We're going to make 50 rows just like we made for this one, and then I'll meet you at the other end again in a bit. So I'm just going to do it again. A chain 2, flip the work over, then 1 half double crochet into the first space, and then another half double crochet into the second space. Come on. Alright, now we're just going to keep going up like this. Okay, so now I finished the second one, and we're going to do the same thing we did with the first one to fasten it to the other side of the bag. First, make sure that nothing is tangled and that it's completely straight, just so you don't end up with a messed up handle. And then we're just going to chain this across. So the first slip stitch. So we're basically doing the same thing we did of the other side. Again, don't make it too tight. And then the second one, slip, and then the third one with the third one, and slip. So the bag looks like this, but it's soon going to look like more like this. So right now I'm going to detach this one, the one from the slip stitch. I'm going to make just one more slip just to secure it, just to make sure everything is good. So one more slip, and then I'll slip here in the middle. Alright, pull it tight. And now we're going to cut it. And there we go. Later we can hide that little edge. That's not a problem we need to worry about right now. And now what we're going to do is, remember this side of the yarn that we used to connect the band to the first piece? Well, we're going to continue using that. And now we are going to attach this part of the band up until this peak here. So we're going to attach this now, the same way we attached the band earlier. Into the first, and into the first, and then do a single crochet. And just keep doing that until you reach the peak, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do once I've reached the peak. I'll be back in a bit. I'm reaching the peak here, and I'm just going to continue until I've reached the peak completely. I think this is my last stitch here, my last single crochet. Yep, it's my last single crochet here. And now you see the strap of the bag is attached, but it doesn't look uniform on this side. Instead of continuing here with the single crochets, I'm going to go down here and then here. And in the bottom, I'm going to join these two spaces, just so it doesn't look off, so it looks prettier. And we're just going to continue right now. So single crochets are pretty simple, right? Just reach in and then yarn over and reach in again. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Now you're going to do that. You're going to connect these two. When you reach this peak again, you're going to do the same thing and you're going to connect it. Now, when you reach down here, what you want to do is slip stitch across, and you can go over these slip stitches or under or on top, it doesn't really matter. And then you flip the work over and do the exact same thing for this side. You're going to put these together and then single crochet all the way down, single crochet these two together, up and then down back. And then you're going to fasten off here. And when I am at this peak, I will come back just to make sure we're clear on what's going on. Okay, so I realized I made a mistake. So I was able to do everything here just fine. But then when I reached here, I realized that I didn't put the yarn underneath, so I wasn't able to continue down here. So what I'm gonna do instead is just fasten this off and start anew. So yeah, like I just mentioned, I screwed up a little bit, but that is okay. We just cut off this piece and we'll just put another slip knot and start somewhere else. That is not a problem. Oops. Slip knot. And then I think I'll start here and then I'll just work my way down. Well, no, I'll start here so it's uniform and then I'll work my way down. So one thing, if you're doing it, maybe don't cut off this yarn, the one that you used to make this section. Maybe don't cut that off and then just continue with it. Okay dokes, I've reached the peak and now there's one more thing I want to tell you to pay attention to, and that is the tension of the band when you're crocheting these two together. Don't pull it too tight because then it's going to shrink and then this part is going to end up all like crumply and it's not going to look nice. Don't stretch this part either because then this part is not going to look nice. Just lay it nicely. You can even count out the rows and the stitches and then do it that way. I'm just kind of eyeballing it and just doing it that way. But yeah, that's all you have to be careful with. And then when you reach the end, just fasten off and then weave in your ends. And you're done with the project. Good job!